Porsche has never had a bad decade. Not in the 1950s, when they were building sports cars out of Volkswagen parts in a converted sawmill. Not in the 1970s, when fuel crises killed the American muscle car. Not in the 1990s, when they nearly went bankrupt and came out the other side with the Boxster. Not in the 2000s, when they launched an SUV and the purists screamed and the accountants smiled. Every time someone says Porsche has lost its way, Porsche sells more cars than the year before. That is not luck. That is architecture. Porsche built a lineup where every model exists for a specific kind of buyer at a specific stage of life. The person in the Macan and the person in the 911 are not in the same conversation. Porsche made sure of it. Today, we're mapping all 7 levels. This isn't a ranking of best to worst. It's a map of Porsche ownership. How it starts, where it goes, and what it means at each stage. From the entry point that most people pretend to be above, to the machines that don't have a price list. Let's get into it. Level 1. The Macan, starting around $62,000 and climbing to $85,000 depending on trim. And yes, it belongs here. The Macan outsells every other model in the Porsche lineup. It is the most common Porsche on the road, and a significant share of long-term Porsche owners started here. The fully electric Macan is now the main event. The Macan 4 Electric starts around $75,000. The turbo version does 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. In a compact SUV, those numbers would have been sports car territory 10 years ago. Here's what people get wrong about the Macan. They dismiss it because it's practical, because it has a back seat, because it looks like a reasonable decision. It does not drive like a reasonable decision. The steering is communicative. The chassis is balanced. You can feel the road in a way that has no business existing in a family SUV. The dynamics are tuned the same way every Porsche is tuned, which means the person who dismisses it has usually never actually driven one. The Macan is not a compromise. It's the best version of what everyone else thinks of as sensible. Level 2. The Cayenne, $82,000 to $175,000 depending on variant. The range of that number tells you the range of the car. The Cayenne came out in 2003. Porsche was in serious financial trouble in the late 1990s. The Boxster helped, but it wasn't enough. They needed volume, and they needed margin. The decision to build a large SUV was met with exactly the response you'd expect from the enthusiast community. Outrage, betrayal, articles about the death of Porsche as a serious manufacturer. It sold out immediately. Waiting lists formed. Porsche's revenue doubled. The enthusiasts kept buying 911s. Everyone won. That statistic does not get old. Who's here? The father who drove 911s in his 30s and watched a child arrive. He made a deal with himself. I'll get the sensible car, but it will be the least sensible version of the sensible car. His wife drove it once and told him it was terrifying. He considered that a compliment. Level 3. The 718 Boxster and 718 Cayman. $67,000 to $130,000 in standard spec. The Cayman is the coupe. The Boxster is the roadster. Mid-engine, 2 seats, and by most serious measures the best handling cars in the lineup at their price. Many experienced drivers argue they are better to drive than the 911. The engine sits behind the driver and ahead of the rear axle. Weight distribution close to perfect. The chassis communicates everything. On a track, it will embarrass cars that cost 3 times as much. It starts at $142,000, and there is a waiting list that moves at a geological pace. Who buys these? The person who did the research. Not someone who wanted a Porsche and picked the most recognizable one. The person who read every comparison test, drove everything back to back, and decided that lap times and steering feel matter more than prestige. They drive it to work every day because they believe a sports car should be used as a sports car. Their commute is the best part of the day. They are not wrong about this. Level 4. The 911. $115,000 to $250,000 in standard production trim. Rear engine. The benchmark against which every sports car in the world is measured, whether the people making the comparison admit it or not. The 911 has been in continuous production since 1963. Every generation has been criticized by the previous generation's owners as a departure from what made the original special. Every generation has been vindicated by the one that followed. The current 992 is the best 911 ever built by every objective measure. The next one will be better. That is not an accident. It is 6 decades of engineering with no off years. Who is the 911 buyer? Everyone who was ever going to buy a Porsche ends up here eventually. The Macan owner who told herself it was about practicality. The Cayenne driver who told himself the back seat mattered. The 718 owner who swore he already had the fastest thing he'd ever need. At some point, they all get in a 911. And then they understand what everything before it was preparing them for. Level 5. The Panamera. $96,000 to $230,000. A 4-door fastback, Porsche drivetrain, enough rear cabin space to conduct a meeting. On paper, it makes no sense for this brand. In practice, it works completely. The Turbo SE Hybrid, the plug-in hybrid variant, produces a combined 690 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. A full-size luxury sedan with a back seat, luggage space, and every comfort feature the segment demands. 2.9 seconds. It competes directly with the Mercedes S-Class, the BMW 7 Series, and the Bentley Flying Spur. It beats all of them around a circuit. None of that was the plan when the segment was invented. It became the plan when Porsche decided to enter it. Who is here? The managing partner who was known for his 911 until his back started disagreeing. He did not want a sedan. He wanted his 911 with a back seat. Porsche built him exactly that. He tells people it was a sensible choice. He has the 0 to 60 number memorized. Level 6. The Taycan. $90,000 to $210,000 for the core range. Then the Taycan Turbo GT, which starts at $230,000 and is something different from everything else on this list. The Taycan was the bet Porsche could not afford to lose. Their first fully electric car. If it was mediocre, the reputation for engineering would have taken a decade to recover. It was not mediocre. The Turbo GT pushes that further than anyone expected. Over 1,000 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds. A YSAC package that removes the rear seat, adds a harness bar, and strips weight with the same intent you'd find in a racing program. It is a racing car that has been cleared for road use. Who buys the Taycan? 2 groups. The existing Porsche owner who drove one at a media event and called their dealer before leaving the parking lot. And the new buyer, someone who wanted a serious electric car and discovered that Porsche had been building dynamically excellent vehicles for 70 years and applied all of it to their first electric model. Different starting points. Same conclusion. Level 7, the 918 Spyder. 918 units built between 2013 and 2015. Original price $845,000. Current market value for available examples starts above $2 million and moves upward depending on specification and history. It was not built to sell volume. It was built to prove a point. That Porsche's engineering department, given an unlimited brief and access to motorsport technology, could build the fastest road car in the world. Mission completed. Production ended. The cars entered the permanent mythology of the brand. Porsche has announced a successor to the 918. No name, no confirmed specifications. The development is underway. When it arrives, it will reset the definition of what a road car can do. Again, who owns a 918? Not primarily the collector buying for appreciation, though those exist. The ones who define this level are the ones who drove it and could not accept never driving it again. They have other cars. But the 918 is the one no price would move. At some point you have bought enough things. Then you buy the one you will not let go of. Every other luxury brand sells you status, a signal to other people about where you stand. Porsche sells you something different. Porsche sells you the feeling that you chose correctly. At level 1, you're buying the best version of what everyone else calls practical. At level 7, you own one of 901 objects, representing the peak of what road car engineering could produce in a specific era. Both buyers made the same decision, at completely different scales, and Porsche designed it so that both of them are right. If this was useful, subscribe to Foxy Breakdown. I break down how things actually work, not how the brochure describes them. See you in the next one.